Welcome to We Can Be,
the podcast of the Heinz Endowments,
where we work to build
an exemplary,
sustainable region
where everyone
prospers and belongs.
Welcome to We Can Be. I'm your host, Chris DeCardy. This season, we're expanding our format. After my conversation with today's guest, I'm going to bring in one of our experts from the Heinz Endowments to talk further about the conversation, its implications for our region and beyond. Let's get into it. In a world where dizzying change seems to be coming at us every day from all directions, it's important to check in with some of the organizations that have long brought light to us no matter what is happening culturally or politically. Today's guest leads an organization with a 125-year history, including the groundbreaking distinction of being one of the first of its kind in the country to serve both boys and girls at a time when doing so was unprecedented. Demeshia Seals is the Chief Executive Officer of the Sarah Heinz House, established by H.J. Heinz's son, Howard Heinz, on Pittsburgh's North Side in 1901 as a resource for boys of immigrant families. 2 years later, they welcomed both boys and girls and have given youth community building experiences in sports, nature, and well-being ever since. Demeshia joined the Sarah Heinz House in 2023, bringing decades of experience with companies including Massaro Construction, where she held positions as Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, and Nike Inc., where she led their skills development programs. She now leads the Sarah Heinz House in serving over 1,000 youth each year, and in recent years has expanded its programs to include adults 60 and over, as well as focuses on STEM, robotics, and workforce development. She is guiding this historic organization into the future, and we are delighted to be with her at this moment in time. Demeshia Seals, welcome to We Can Be. You have said that your dream is for every child to understand that there are no limits. The young people that you're engaged with right now, what makes you excited about what they're bringing to our world that can achieve that dream?
What excites me about where we find ourselves now with the young people that we're privileged to serve is they really and truly don't place limitations on themselves the way my generation or even the generation right after mine. I'm a Gen Xer.
As am I.
We grew up with inherent limitations. Like we were taught what was appropriate and what the roadmap should look like for success. And that's just not where the kids are right now. And that is exciting to me. In order for our next leaders to truly lead, they have to have a spirit of innovation and authentic creativity. And that comes from a space of not having a net, not understanding what tomorrow should look like, but more developing what tomorrow is going to be.
Take me into the Sarah Heinz House. What is it like there to foster that possibility, almost, I can't think of the right words, but anti-conformist? It's an individuality, it sounds like, you're seeing in these young people, that they are being who they want to be and bringing that out. What does it look like in your gatherings in the Sarah Heinz House when you're there and you're seeing them? Just visually walk me through it.
A day in the life of the Sarah Heinz House is like entering the Thunderdome. It's really chaotic. The first thing you notice when you walk in is, wow, it's booming. There's a lot of activity. Kids come in, they get out of school, and they get to us between 3 and 4. And we have over 100 kids in the space before 4 o'clock. They go, they chill, they go for a swim, or they'll go get a snack, or they'll do whatever it is that they want to do. And then at 6 o'clock, they go to more like of a structured program where they feed their spirits. We have kids who love art. So they go and they hang out in Miss Ivy's room. She's our art instructor. We have kids who are in the anime. And so they'll go and hang out in the media lab. And then we have kids who are in robotics, and they go and they hang out in the robotics lab. And yet we still have even more kids who just want to play basketball and kind of commune with their friends. And they all are doing it together, kind of finding their voice. The best example of it is, bear with me, I'm kind of like a proud mother. We had the honor and privilege of having the Boys and Girls Club state Youth of the Year come from the Sarah Heinz House. They have a national youth development program called Youth of the Year. And that's where young people at the over 5,000 clubs around the country, actually in the world, they compete to represent their club as that club's Youth of the Year. Sarah Heinz House Youth of the Year was Sophia Fing, and she went to Philadelphia and won. And now she represents the state of Pennsylvania. And we're really proud of her because she did her speech for me in my office because I was unable to attend her speech in New York because she went to represent us in New York. And I think she did a better job than I could ever do of really talking about kind of what that looks like through the eyes of a kid. So she talked about coming to the Sarah Heinz House and really not really wanting to be there. When she first got there, her mother signed her up, and she was like, one more place I'm not going to fit in, and nobody gets me. And fast forward 2.5 years later, not only does she fit in, but she's a leader. The little kids look up to her. When she came back from Philadelphia, when she won the state, it is hard to get almost 200 kids to do anything willingly. It's like wrangling cats. But when we announced that Sophia was coming back, because she didn't want to go home. She wanted to come straight to the house after she won, and they all packed into the lobby to say, congratulations. I was like, okay, this is why I do this. Because
that's fantastic.
Here's one of our own really kind of being celebrated by her own. And it really, to my mind, was the definition of community and what we're trying to build.
So building community for young people to be themselves and to be able to explore and to be able to create who they're going to be in the world.
Yes.
At the same time, for us in our region today, young people are facing an awful lot of challenges. Somewhere between 25 to 30% of our young people end their high school experience, and they don't take a next step to acquiring the skills that they'll need for a life-sustaining career. They're not going to a 4-year college or a 2-year college or apprenticeships or internships. You see these young people, you see the promise, you see them building toward that dream. What are you seeing as the obstacles and the impediments that are keeping a lot of our young folks from successfully building into that pathway to success?
It's the way we speak about tomorrow with our young people. That is a large part of the challenge. We lead from a place of everything is doom and gloom. There's but one way to be successful. And I think we need to start talking about the different ways that young people can be successful that don't include, the traditional route. When I was coming up, it was a given that you, in order to be successful or to be considered successful, you had to go to college. And then you had to get a college degree. And then once you came out of college, you had to get a corporate job, or you had to get a job that was respectable in other people's eyes. And if you didn't, or if you didn't have the chops to go to school, then you went to the trades, or then you did other avenues. Let's start there. Why is that a plan B? Why can't that be plan A? And why is it a lesser opportunity than the other one? Let's change the manner in which we speak about what opportunity looks like and what success truly is for our young people. Let's not shackle them, if you will, with our limited understanding of what their opportunities could be. If we believe that tomorrow is theirs for the taking, then we should say to them in every way possible and demonstrate it that whatever your choices are, I'm here for it. Tell me how I can support it. Don't tell a kid who loves the arts, you can't make money at that, so you shouldn't do that. Tell that kid, you know what? You have an amazing talent. Let's talk about how we can foster that. Forgive me, I'm Southern. My grandmother raised me, and she used to say to me all the time, I don't believe in this self-love nonsense. Self-love doesn't start in a vacuum. Love of self starts when someone first shows you the way. Someone points out to you what it is about yourself that is worthy of love. And so I think that's how we change the narrative, Chris, in this community in general. Let's stop teaching our children that there's one way, there's one path to success, and that if they can't make it on that path and they take this other path, well, you're not necessarily as worthy as this other kid. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Mostly your passion and commitment comes through. And so I'm super interested about your path and your journey. Mm-hmm. You and I are the same generation. You grew up in Mississippi. I grew up in Illinois. And that expectation that the path to success was to go through to a 4-year college. Mm-hmm. And you feel very differently now. But talk about your own journey. How did you build these steps to land where you are right now with this kind of commitment in the way you just described it?
You're right. And I was that kid. I had all these other different passions. I was interested in different things, but I was taught, you can't make money doing that. I just said, okay, I'll do what I'm told is the right thing to do. And I did that. I worked for years doing all the things and applying myself and being successful at it. But then I was blessed and fortunate to work for a construction company here in Pittsburgh. And I started to come to understand that, first of all, construction workers make a really good living. And, oh, by the way, where else can you go and point to your family and say in a tangible way, I did that.
I built that.
I can't do that. And so I started to realign my thinking there about what success was. And then as I started to open myself up, I started to realize why the messengers were delivering the message the way they were. So we, as teachers, who I think are God's gift to us all, I truly do, we ask them to talk about success in a very dynamic way without really asking them about how they feel about success. Teachers went to school. They went the traditional route, but you want them to be the advocates. You're asking teachers who saw their success through school to speak about not going to school as a primary choice.
Interesting.
Don't think that's going to happen. And then I had the opportunity to be a Youth of the Year judge. And it changed the trajectory of my life because I sat there and I listened to 5 young people tell their stories without a hint of shame because they didn't know enough to be embarrassed. They just talked about their lives. And they did it with such poise and such dignity and grace. And I said, I know there's a lot of good organizations doing amazing work here, but whatever this organization is doing is special, and I can make time for that.
It's fantastic. So you decide to join the board, and then ultimately you're now about 3 years in to leading the Sarah Heinz House. The Sarah Heinz House has its own legacy of innovation and of service from the very beginning. There were not many like it at its time when it first started out. One of the oldest nonprofits in the United States. One of the first charter members of the Boys and Girls Club of America. The one that focused initially on children and on immigrants early on. In its early years, it really was primarily sort of a social recreation, physical fitness kind of piece that was of that era. Give me some examples now of building on that legacy of innovation that the Sarah Heinz House had at the beginning. What are some of the programs that you are most excited about that you see being the innovative pieces for this generation and beyond?
Yes, we do have a very proud legacy of kind of commitment to community. And thank you for mentioning the fact that we started in 1901. We were part of the Settlement House movement. And for those who are not familiar with that, that was a movement back in the turn of the century spearheaded by the Quaker women around inappropriate treatment of immigrants in general, but particularly children. And they created these houses where there could be community, and the kids could go. They could get things like pasteurized milk. They could get medical care, and their families could also be a part of it. So I tell people inclusion has been in our DNA from day one. We not only are one of the oldest nonprofits starting in 1901, but we are the first one to include girls in 1903. Mm-hmm. When we started, we were for the entire community because we understood that if you're going to empower youth, especially those who need us most, to laugh, learn, and lead, to deny that they come from families and those families exist in communities, is to be derelict in our mission. So one of the things that I'm most excited about is the intergenerational aspect of the Sarah Heinz House now. I mentioned earlier that we're the county's first new senior center in 34 years. That's huge. Why did we do that? We saw at the Sarah Heinz House the opportunity for connection again, going back to that. Children need to be seen, and they need to be told that they are valued. And who better than our older adults who have seen quite a bit of life? We have a garden at the house, and the kids and the older adults work in the garden together. And so they have this luncheon at the end of the summer with the proceeds from the garden. And the kids are sitting there at this table, and they're talking to them, and the older adults are lovely, and they're like, "Oh, your parents must be so proud." And one of our kids shared that their grandparents didn't speak to them anymore. Mm-hmm. This particular child is on a journey, and they haven't quite determined where they land in the gender journey. And so apparently there was some backlash there from their family. But without missing a beat, those ladies like, "Don't worry about it, baby. You can be my grandbaby." Mm. And that is what I'm talking about, and that's what excites me about where we're going. The whole intergenerational connectivity, reconnecting from whence they came. Because I think that it's very difficult to know where you're going until you understand where you've been.
Yeah. I think for us in this region right now, it is so important. We are not a growing region in population, and our population is aging. We need everyone. We cannot afford to leave anybody behind because we need them for the prosperity we all hope for in the coming decades. So it is from our elders and community that we get wisdom and that love that in the right ways allows each of our young people to meet their full potential. In our community, in a period of time where there is an awful lot of noise that is othering folks who are not like somebody else, it is so important to have those spaces, and especially safe places for youth who are trying to figure out who they are, and that includes their identity of all sorts in this mix. And so for trans and gender fluid young people to have safe spaces as well and to come together. You also do a bunch of other stuff, which is recognizing the changes in society and the advances in technology. You've taken advantage of partnerships with other institutions here. Talk maybe a little bit about Carnegie Mellon and ROAR and what that is and how that's trying to help young people be ready and seize the opportunities of today.
ROAR is a program that we run in partnership with CMU, and ROAR stands for Reimagining Opportunities to Achieve and Rise for girls. Even though girls perform at the same, if not greater levels than their male counterparts in math and science, we still, and I say we because I have an undergraduate in chemistry, we are still underrepresented in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. And so what we do with ROAR is we invite kids in the community, girls, specifically girls, to come in, and we show them that STEM is much more than, just building robots. And then we have women in the different fields in STEM. We had last year a program manager from Google. We had someone from MSA Safety, because again, it's very difficult to be what you can't see. And so we have them come and talk to them and answer questions about what it is to be a young woman in that space. Then the other program that we run is called Go Baby Go. And why I love this so much, Chris, is because our kids just get to see the practical applications of the skills that they're learning and how those can be used to help somebody else. And my grandmother used to always say, baby, if you want to feel better about your life, help somebody who had it harder. That is the quickest and fastest way to really understand your blessings. I thought I was not going to make it through the day. When I saw this father, he was over. He said, I need a minute. And he walked over, and I'm like, oh, crap, what do we do? I said, sir, are you okay? I don't mean to bother you. He's like, no. And then he came back. He's like, they told me my boy would never be able to move on his own. You don't know what you guys have given us. And I thought, no, you don't know what you gave my kids.
The gym at the Sarah Heinz House transformed this morning into a custom tiny car garage and mini test track of sorts.
The aim is to allow kids with various challenges to explore their world in a way many children already do.
The cars were all donated by Amazon. Students from the Sarah Heinz House robotics team would spend the day modifying and adapting the battery-powered mini cars for their new owners.
We convert it to where it is a push button rather than pedals.
There's nothing like having a child who is learning robotics see how what they're learning can impact another child.
It's just awesome. And the thing that is so great about it, I think part of the themes here, which is young people have beginners' minds. Mm-hmm. Because not only in that example is everything you just said, but what we also know in technology, that it's the so-called edge cases that lead to innovation. Mm-hmm. We know that a young person turned loose in that program to help somebody that has mobility issues, quite likely is at the cutting edge of finding a mobility solution that can work for everybody.
Yes.
That we didn't discover in other places. And you've got all of that working in there at one time and in one moment, which is just so much fun to be able to hear more about in this. So,
you know, one of the things we also are doing, we took it upon ourselves. This is our first summer, Chris. We started our own workforce development program. We are a participant with the Learn and Earn program, which is Allegheny County's workforce development. We also have our own workforce development program that we started this year, where we employ members of our teen program at the Sarah Heinz House, and we employ them as junior counselors. They're starting to demonstrate a maturity that you didn't see with them during the school year. So they take it seriously when they're kind of leading and lining the little ones up, you know, during summer day camp. And one of the things that a lot of nonprofits who are youth serving are struggling with is how do you engage teens? Because we're competing with jobs that pay them. We can't compete with the Targets of the world or the McDonald's of the world. But you know what? They're smart enough to understand that they may make $2 more at McDonald's, but are they going to learn? So if we just offer them the opportunity to work with us and continue to learn while we pay them, mm-hmm. Who wouldn't do that? One of the Learn and Earn kids sat with me for a whole day last year in meetings, like meeting after meeting after meeting. And it's like she came home and told her mother she had the best day ever. And she now knows what she wants to do with her life. And her mother said, what is that? She said, I'm going to be a CEO.
That's awesome.
And that's because I didn't just have her come sit next to me in meetings. Like one of the meetings that we had for that day was with our social media team. So I said, hey, Lana, what do you think about this? Give them your feedback. She just blossomed as the day went on. And yeah, she could have spent her summer making a lot more money. But I think what she got in her experience with us is a lot more valuable.
I went on many field trips that taught me a lot of stuff. I worked with kids and I just learned a lot about being here. The best thing about the experience was probably working with the preschoolers. I really like working with the preschoolers.
I had fun. I enjoy the job very much.
There's a lot that you can experience.
Not only am I working, they're also teaching me how to, budget and learn.
The best experience for me this summer is being able to grow and learn more about the kids that I've been spending every day with, but also to make money since it'll be my first job and become financially responsible.
So tell me a bit about the rest of the places your young people spend their time. You see your young people in certain times of day or in certain types of gatherings. How do you see your role, and what is the opportunity or what are the barriers in better collaboration and coordination? That could be with their home environment, their school environment, or the other places they spend their time.
We need to be more intentional about meeting the kids where they are and understanding and recognizing that they have options and they have choices. One significant one is to do nothing and be home and, as I say, get into shenanigans. A big impediment for some of our children's transportation. Pittsburgh Public, they don't bus the kids to our spaces and places, and they don't bus the kids at all after they get to middle school. So you have kids who are trying to figure out how to get them home and then what they're going to do when they get home. I don't know about you, Chris, but 12-year-old me, yeah, nobody wants that. So I think that one of the things we can start to do is be more collaborative as an ecosystem, if you will, on just getting them to our spaces.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't give my team kudos because we have 2 vans that were just sitting in the parking lot, and the team was like, well, we don't have to wait for Pittsburgh Public to bring them to us. And so they went out and set up a schedule, and now they go around to the area schools on the north side, and they pick them up.
Wow.
And they bring them to us.
Tell me a little bit about where do you want to go next? Are there opportunities for growth, or are there headwinds now because of funding sources that you rely on in particular ways? So what's happening in the world today, and what tangible impacts does this have on you being able to achieve your mission? And what is your hope in the near term for how you can expand it?
The direct answer to that is yes, we would love to grow, and we are growing, like in leaps and bounds. In fact, there needs to be some sort of engagement in the community. Communities like Northview Heights, one of the poorest communities in all of Western PA, with a median income of $13,000 a year. So we do programming off-site. So we port the portable programming we can up to that community, and we're looking to do more of that. And my team would beat me up if I didn't talk about the residential camp, which is 115 acres. And for those who are movie buffs, a river truly runs through it. So Slippery Rock Creek runs right through our camp. Even a dyed-in-the-wool urban girl can tell you it's a really beautiful setting. And it's a great opportunity for kids who don't have access to that kind of greenery to reconnect with nature. Nature has a way of healing. But yes, funding challenges, I'm a nonprofit like all others, and it's hard right now. People who make decisions have made some different choices, and that's unfortunate. But what I try not to do, Chris, is dwell on that. They've been very clear about what they're not willing to do at this point in time. There's no point in continuing to go back and forth about that. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. We know what we have now. Let's figure out how we can maximize what we do with that. And so I choose to focus on what is possible as opposed to all the things that may not be possible at this particular point in time because of where we find ourselves. Because this will pass. It always does.
Demeshia, it has been great to talk to you. Your passion comes through, your commitment, your innovation, your service for the young people in our community who really are our future in this community.
Thank you.
We always end, the name of this podcast is We Can Be. It is forward-looking. We believe that the role of a place like the Heinz Endowments is to help us all build an exemplary, sustainable Pittsburgh and Southwest Pennsylvania where everyone can prosper and belong. And to do that is to be able to show what that inclusive, prosperous future looks like. Mm-hmm. So what do you think our community can be from this moment looking forward?
I think we can lead the way on just how to get things done. Having dialogues and having conversations about what is possible. We're figuring out how to serve more and more kids. We're figuring out how to serve older adults. We're figuring it out. And whatever solution there is to be found to solve the many, many ills that are affecting our community and our nation and the world, you and I are not going to solve it, Chris. The kids are.
Exactly right.
So let's invest in them.
Love it. That's a pledge. That's a commitment. Thank you.
All righty.
Now I want to take a moment and turn to Carmen Anderson. Carmen is at the Heinz Endowments, our Vice President for Equity and Learning. And to this conversation, more importantly, you have spent your career and a big portion of it here in the endowments caring about young people in our community and helping them reach their potential. And so I want to begin, I think, where Demeshia talked about this need for an ecosystem for young people. What's your take on the broader ecosystem? What is strong that we have here to build on, and where do we need more?
So I believe that we have good people doing important work in all areas of the ecosystem. Where I think we come up a bit short is the system is not connected in a way that thinks holistically about young people. For too many areas, we are deficit focused. So we begin with the thinking of what's wrong with you versus what's right. I also think that quality can be inconsistent across systems and even within institutions within the system, and that impacts, obviously, the outcome for young people. Where can we spark curiosity for young people? Where can they develop a sense of belonging, a sense of commitment to the community that they're part of, to their families, to giving back? Can they develop a sense of civic participation? And can they have their basic needs met all at the same time? So I think when we think about the systems, if we can invest in ways that invest in the potential, regardless of the circumstances where young people come from, and that's one of the inconsistencies that we wrestle with.
I'm curious about the deficit base on this. What is so diminishing about that? Or is there an example about why that turn from a deficit base to a positive building block about a young person's potential is so critical for them and also for the people that they're engaging with?
I think the switch matters for several reasons. One, we begin to think about potential in real ways. We begin to think about investments not only in that person, but the settings in which they are a part of so that they can get to thriving, which is our ultimate goal. We don't think enough about what brings young people joy. We don't think enough about letting them be. One of the things I so appreciated in Demeshia's comments was just letting them be. And they can discover on their own. They can experience. They can have conversations, build relationships, meaningful relationships with older adults, with their peers. And you can't do that when somebody is looking at you as though something's wrong with you.
One of the things that you said is that we've got a lot of the right ideas, a lot of the right leaders, a lot of the right programming. But what we need to pay attention to is quality. I imagine one of the reasons underneath that is resources. For you, why is that important? What does that mean? And then how can we get more quality in the system
What I tend to see is communities and organizations that are well-resourced tend to have higher levels of quality. However, the quality isn't only based on those things, because you cannot replace a loving, giving, committed heart. But like a Demeshia, she could be doing many other things. She has chosen to commit her life's work at this point to the betterment of others and the betterment of young people. That level of quality is something that if we could see more of across the board would just be transformative.
So another thing you mentioned was about the network and the importance of multiple organizations, opportunities, and coordination. I think one of the things that can sometimes happen is the perspective of the young person about what they need and how to be able to navigate through that can sometimes get lost in stovepiping or siloing types of opportunities or programs. Is that true? Does that happen? How do we overcome that separation so that ultimately it's the young person and their caregiver that is supported to be able to move through that system as effectively as possible?
I think we in philanthropy have a unique role to play because I think we can do some investments that bridge systems, that bridge organizations, that create opportunities for navigation among systems that oftentimes are very complex. And we also have a unique opportunity to invest in organizations that value young people on multiple levels, including their voice, and elevate that voice and build it into the decision making. I think a lot of times young people know far more about their communities and their circumstances and their challenges that we give them credit for, and we don't take advantage of that. I think what they don't necessarily know well is what opportunities are available.
It's so interesting. Demeshia ends, right? She essentially said, kids have the answers. How can we lean in and listen to them? What can we do in philanthropy? How can we support the nonprofit organizations in our community to be able to tap more into that? What should we be doing to tap more into that?
We can support youth-serving organizations that value youth voice. We can support youth organizing, youth advocacy. If we do believe that they have a good sense of what they need and what the challenges are, why not let them be part of the solution? Some foundations are building youth councils and, youth advisory panels as part of the decision making. We could test potentially some of those approaches. And when we think about investments that are, again, transformative, requires thinking holistically about people, opportunity for people, and building on their strengths.
I think that's a nice way to come full circle because the history of the Sarah Heinz House, from Demeshia, her energy and excitement is about building the type of self-confidence and capacity for young people to believe in themselves and to be able to take the next kinds of steps in all sorts of ways. And it's one of the reasons it's a delight for us at the endowments to be able to support what they're trying to make happen in the future. Thanks for the conversation. I enjoyed hearing your perspective and bringing it into the bigger picture today.